Hi, weirdos.
I wasn't ready. Hey, I have a question for you, actually.
What?
Utopias, creepy or desirable?
Which version? Thomas More's Utopia? Or just the world as we want it? Utopia? Or I don't know, what kind? Like Star Trek Utopia? Star Trek Utopia is wonderful.
Just the concept of utopia. Does it get you excited or do you fear it when you hear it?
I fear it.
Okay.
I fear it. You know why?
Why?
Because I'm a working class gal, so we're always suspicious of free things. And Utopia just seems like it's like too good to be true. How about you?
Oh, totally. It's creepiness. It's freakiness. Absolutely.
Scary. Like somebody's up to something. That's what I think of when I think of Utopia.
Which is why, well, recently I was alerted by a very thoughtful email from, I believe, Delta Airlines.
Oh.
That I had miles that were about to run out, and I never have enough miles to use on an actual ticket.
Where are you going?
Nowhere. That's exactly the point. I went nowhere as a child. I went nowhere in college, and I'm going nowhere now because I have children and we can't travel. We do travel.
No one does anything fun with children.
I travel enough to get some miles, but not enough to actually go anywhere with the miles.
Okay.
And so the only reasonable thing to do was to pick up some magazine subscriptions. Magazine subscriptions to things like Vanity Fair, GQ, and then some other things for my wife's office and so on. And so, but you know, the funny thing is I don't remember picking Vanity Fair, and I don't read Vanity Fair, but I got my first magazine the other day.
That makes me suspicious right there.
Free things, right? Where did that come from? What am I on the hook for now?
Right.
What do I have to pay for? Now they have my information. Now they have my data. I never ordered that.
If my grandpa were having this conversation, there'd be more cursing and he'd be a lot more angry. Anyway, keep going.
So I open it, and the first article I open to, I mean, literally, I just open. It's like an article about Murfers living in a Murfer utopia. Okay,
so you just sent this to me on my phone. That's why I keep looking down.
I just sent this to her on your phone.
And you had to explain to me what a Murf was, which is if I have this right, a mom surfer?
A mom surfer. I don't know if the term is very broadly used or if it's just used in this particular place, which is like this posh, Tony little location on eastern coastal Australia, where a group of moms
in Byron Bay,
looks
gorgeous,
who are not like your average run-of-the-mill people exactly.
No, they are not like the rest of us.
They have homes that are perfectly curated in this like palette of like white and like oatmeal tones, beautiful rugged wood floors.
Yes.
Kids playing with like wooden toys and like a wooden abacus and like a wooden hammer and a toy horse and stuff, and no technology, and they are just happy all the time. They're feeding their kids like organic food and beautiful drinks and wonderful things, and they go surfing with their kids.
Mom surfers.
And there's a group of these friends, and you can peer in on them on Instagram, and you can live with them in the way that one does on Instagram, their perfect lives.
I'm stuck on the idea of using oatmeal as a color, because I have a baby, so I have just oatmeal everywhere in my house. Nothing is that well thought out. Okay, so what
reactions?
Yeah, I have so many. Yes. Actually, I'm so interested in this idea of like creating worlds within worlds. Like, so there is the world that we are receiving, the world that they're intending to create, the world that their children are experiencing, and then the world that they feel that they are displaying.
A lot of levels here, like a proverbial onion.
Yeah.
I mean, so
they're like gods in that way, right?
They're like gods.
They're
See, this is the religious thing. You become, I think, in this kind of environment on Instagram, you become a kind of like a god in a pantheon of gods who creates a utopia that exists in this medium for this purpose. I mean, part of the article is, I don't know what so the author of the article is a little skeptical. And we'll link the article down in the comments on YouTube. But the author of the article is definitely skeptical. For example, the author points out, even though these children are being just splashed across the Instagram page to show this utopia that these women and their families have achieved, the children are also not allowed to watch screens ever. No screen time.
Now, okay, you are a parent of children,
yes.
of 2 children,
yes,
and
yes.
so am I. What do you think? Is that true?
That they don't use screens?
I just don't think that's possible. Like, how can you go through the world, even if you don't allow your children,
right?
I mean, they just can't get through a day without screen.
I mean, that's the thing about utopias. That's the suspicion. It's always a lie. I mean, okay, but granted, who doesn't look, I mean, I think this is the double back now. Who looks at Instagram and sees a setting like that and thinks, this is true, reality, I love it. I mean, we deceive ourselves. You look at it and you say, I know this is fake. I know these women are lying to me in some way. I mean, Plato was very afraid of this about artistic images. Way back, the philosopher Plato, that images would always deceive. Nowhere have we seen the greater instantiation of this than in our current time with something like Instagram. Which, by the way, I love Instagram because I love images.
Yeah, you're very artistic.
I love being deceived, I guess, like that. But I like it when it's a willing game. Kind of like when you watch a film and your emotions get involved, but you know what you're doing. The question is, what do these women think that they're doing?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I mean, okay, so this is the thing that I think in order for a person, I think, to work well as a celebrity, especially if they're creating a world like this, these sort of goddesses of the influencing age, if they're creating a world, in order for the world to be real, I think the creator has to believe in it. And so I think to a certain degree, they need to be very sincere. And so I just saw a preview to a film that we need to talk about at some point called Jawline, and it's about the creation of a teenage influencer. Because when you said, who thinks this stuff is real? And I'm like, children do, right? Wow, yeah. So certainly teenagers think that these kinds of things are real, and they're using these forms of media, and they're content creators with these forms of media. So that's kind of interesting. So like, you have to believe it. So I think one thing that makes these worlds compelling is the idea that at least the person who's creating it believes in it. But they also have to be super savvy in order to do it, because no one, like, I don't show versions of my kitchen in my home because, I mean, in addition to privacy concerns, just oatmeal. No one needs to see that. Like, my home is not curated. It is not a show place.
I think your kitchen could work, though, on Instagram.
Well, it could work because if I showed like a really edited version of it, right? So, and then I think to myself, that's what they're doing, right? Yeah. So,
what would the world look like with no editing at all?
It would be like all the way back to 2000. I don't know, when was Instagram? 2010 or something?
The world would look like it looked to us in college and high school, at the beginning of our careers.
There was no real record. I think the
world was better then.
You do? You're practicing to be such an old guy.
It wasn't a utopia, though.
No, I mean, there are pros and cons. I think that it's easy for us to see the downsides to this. I have to believe it's a mixed bag, but the Murfing, I'm gonna try and work Murfer into as many conversations as possible, because it's just such a strange word.
Challenge. Say the word Murfer today to somebody.
In conversation, and try to explain it just in the context of your conversation. Like, don't stop and tell people what it is. Just make them feel a little weird for not knowing.
Here's an example. You could be like, love the Murfer aesthetic.
Yep. Try it.
We'll get into that. That would be
Tell us what's religious about it in the comments. If we do comments.
We're not going to do comments.
Never mind.
We're not going to do any of this. We're going to cut it off with that great laugh that you had there at the end.
Whatever.